Students, and welcome to the English workshop exercises of the poem Leisure by the poet W.H. Davies. Prepare an acrostic from the word leisure. The words should be related to what one likes to do in free time. So, an acrostic is when you take the word leisure, separate the alphabets, and every alphabet starts with a new word. For example, L for listening to music, E for enjoying the sunset. You fill in the alphabet I, S, and U to say what you like to do in your free time. R is for reading stories, and E for exercising. Say where. Where do the cows and sheep stand? In the poem, the cows and sheep stand beneath the boughs or the branches. Where do squirrels store their food? In grass. Where do stars shine in the daytime? In streams. And where does beauty's smile begin? In her eyes. Think and answer in your own words. What could have inspired the poet to compose this poem? Do you think it relates to our present day life? Defend your choice. The stressful and fast paced modern life must have inspired the poet to compose this poem. The poem's message is relevant for today's life because today's world is full of stress and very hectic. Which line proves that in our busy lives, we do not even have a fraction, a small little second to enjoy nature's beauty? The line from the poem is "No time to turn at beauty's glance." The next question: beauty in verse or stanza 5 to 6 can refer to a beautiful maiden, a young girl, as well as nature itself. Explain when and how nature dances and also smiles. There are two ways of looking at the fifth and sixth stanzas of this poem. One is looking at it literally, seeing what that meaning is, the literal meaning. And there the poet says that due to hectic lives, people who don't make time for leisure don't glance at a beautiful maiden, that is nature, and marvel at her dancing feet. They are unable to observe as her mouth shapes out a smile that started from her eyes. That is one literal way of looking at it. The second way of looking at it is when W.H. Davies has personified the beauty of the world around us, which many of us fail to observe because we don't have any leisure or free time. The dancing feet and the enchanting or beautiful smile of nature refers to the various aspects of the beauty of nature around us. Why does the poet call our life poor? The poet calls our life poor because we are always worried and under stress. We are completely cut off from nature and cannot relax and enjoy its beauty. This poet feels that our type of life is therefore a very poor life. We come to the various figures of speech in this poem. When a poet attempts to describe something in words so that it appeals to our five senses, the sense of sight, smell, hearing, touch, and taste, that poetic device or figure of speech is called imagery. So when I read a line in a poem and I get, a picture of it, that is called imagery. For example, a host of golden daffodils. Now, when I read this line, I'm just thinking of, beautiful flowers, so many of them all around the daffodils. A picture comes into my mind. So, this is an example of the figure of speech called imagery. to a chasm deep and vast and wide. So I get a picture of a huge, kind of a chasm, deep, wide place, very, very deep. So that picture comes into your mind, and this is called imagery. Now, you have to go through other poems in your textbook or other books and find lines that contain imagery. Write them down along with the name of the poem, line, and stanza. So we have one in the poem Vocation. The lane is dark and lonely, and the street lamp stands like a giant with one red eye in its head. Imagine that picture in your head. You get a very vivid picture. So, this kind of figure of speech is called imagery. Already learnt that when a human attribute is given to a non human thing or not a human being, it is spoken about in the figure of speech called personification. So pick out two examples of personification from the poem. One is, and watch her feet how they can dance. Okay, so nature is given the human quality of dancing, and hence this is an example of the figure of speech called personification. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile, her eyes began. So we are, even giving the human quality of nature smiling, you know. So another example of personification. Pick out from the poem two examples each of the following figures of speech. Alliteration. Now, alliteration is repetition of the sound of alphabets. We have no time to stand and stare. ST and ST, stand and stare. We have the sound repeated. Therefore, this is an example of the figure of speech called alliteration. Streams full of stars like skies at night. So the S alphabet is being repeated, and this is called alliteration. Next we have simile. Okay, simile is a comparison between two things in a sentence using the words like or as. One example, and stare as long as sheep or cows. So someone is staring and you're comparing it to the staring of sheep or cows. Another example, streams full of stars like skies at night. So the daytime stream full of stars is compared to the skies full of stars at night. Metaphor is direct comparison. One example, streams full of stars. No time to turn at beauty's glance. The poet opens his poem with a question. Is the question asked to receive some answer? No. Okay, we read the poem, we get a question, we are not supposed to give an answer to that question. Now, it is a question used to emphasize and stress upon the fact that modern man has no time to enrich his life from nature. Such a device used by poets falls under the figure of speech called interrogation or rhetorical question, where a question is asked only to stress or emphasize or give importance to something, but no answer is required. Now, refer to the poem The Pilgrim from your textbook and find examples of interrogation. Why waste your time in building here? Question asked, no answer required. Why build ye here at eventide? So these are examples of interrogation or rhetorical question from the poem Pilgrim. Next question. Say whether images from nature given in the poem exist, whether they are on land, in water, or in air. Beneath the boughs or beneath the branches. This is we are talking about land. Squirrels hide nuts in grass. Also land. Streams in daytime. Streams are little bodies of water. So obviously it is in water. And stars in skies at night. That is in air. Make a paraphrase of the poem Leisure in your own simple words. Write it down in your notebook. I have tried to be as simple as possible. So you have to take line by line, write the meaning in simple words. So because the poem is in couplets, that is lines of two, you can write down couplet wise, you can make a paraphrase. Now, Leisure is a simple, beautiful, thought-provoking poem written by William Henry Davies. It is divided into 7 rhyming couplets. Couplet 1. The poet begins by questioning a life which is so full of worry that it does not give us any time to simply stand still and watch the world go by. So you can be even simpler in your language and explain the first 2 lines. What is this life so full of care? We have no time to stand and stare. Explain it in your own words. Coming to couplet 2. Sheep and cows are often seen standing in open fields and staring. People living busy lives do not have the time to stand under the branches of trees and gaze at nature. Couplet 3 explained. The poet says that when people pass through a forest, they are in too much of a hurry to notice where squirrels hide their nuts. They do not notice the natural world around them. Moving on with couplet 4 and the paraphrase. In daylight, streams appear to be sparkling under the effect of sunshine, making it seem as if they are full of stars. Such beauties of nature are missed by people who are overburdened by worry and living a fast life without any leisure. Couplets 5 and 6. W. H. Davies has personified the beauty of the world around us, which many people fail to observe because they don't have any free time. The dancing feet and enchanting or beautiful smile of nature refers to the various aspects of the beauty of nature around us. Couplet 7. In the final couplet, the poet states that people are so bogged down by worry and tension and stress that it gives them no time for leisure or free time. According to him, this is a very poor or miserable type of life. Poet William Henry Davies. He was a Welsh poet and writer who spent most of his time as a tramp, like a little beggar, in the United Kingdom and the United States. Yet, he became one of the most popular poets of his time.